Are you there? Okay, let me see if I can pull this up here on my Facebook. Okay, so you guys all know me. I'm Becky. Okay, I'm trying to get into my Facebook here. That's okay. This is going. I'm Portage County. Go ahead. You're Cammy. You're from Summit County.
Shocking.
I'm Melissa Dean and I'm from Shocking County.
Hey, Cam.
I'm from Portage County.
I'm Mark, I'm from Starr County.
And Melissa.
Sid.
Huh? Yeah.
Sid.
You're from Portage.
Yes.
Okay.
Independent.
Yeah. Okay, and May. She's from Summit County. Mimi. I know it's May. Is Mimi?
I spelled M-I-E, so that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, that's good. You're calling me mother.
Mother? Okay. Oh, wow.
We are not providers.
Not providers.
Parents.
They just, yeah, they're
What county
parents.
do you guys live in?
Summit County.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is just, so I'm Chrissy West, I'm an SSA from Portage. This is my husband, this is our date night, so I brought him along, we're going to dinner after this. So.
We can serenade you.
Thursday nights, no, this is alright.
You get dessert.
We get some.
There's cookies here, cookie pieces.
Yeah.
Eric dropped,
What?
but they're very good.
What? Okay. No, you be quiet. So.
We're live.
We are
I better
live.
be quiet.
He's getting dessert
Yep.
tonight.
I will make a chocolate lava cake from Applebee's. How about that? Okay.
Is that what you're going for supper?
Yeah. So,
No, I was thinking more of the shreddy.
Oh no, not those donuts. Yeah. Okay. So I'm Chrissy West. I am an SSA for Portage DD. I kind of want to give you guys a background about myself before I share about my job as an SSA. My mom worked in the field for 30 years. She retired from Mahoney County. She worked at the workshops. So we always had folks home on the weekends and for holidays, Thanksgivings. Services were way different. She's been retired for over 10 years, so think about how services were different. In fact, I believe when she started, they gave meds out of coffee cans at the day program. It's like, oh yeah, there wasn't nursing when she started. It was a long time ago. So I started in that. I worked for an agency in Youngstown, a couple agencies in Youngstown while I was in college, and made my way up to here in Portage. And I've been an SSA in Portage for 19 years. So I have seen a lot of change and a lot of, and a lot of different things, as you guys have, obviously, over the last 19 years. So personally, I have 2 sons that have disabilities, one that does receive services from the County Board of DD, one that was not eligible but worked through OOD to help find employment and work through programming at school. Plus, we have a grandson that is 5 that is eligible for services, that receives a lot of services at Portage. So I get to wear a lot of different hats and talk to a lot of different families. So I kind of have a weird perspective sometimes as a parent and an SSA, because my kid has an SSA and I have to talk to her. Today she had a meeting with him and I wasn't invited, and so like all of those things that we deal with as parents.
So who's on his team?
He invites who he wants. He is absolutely capable. Okay. He had a meeting with OOD today. He just wanted OOD in the SSA, and that's what he wants, and he does a good job advocating for himself. So that's
so then he's his own guardian then. Okay.
Yep.
We have a daughter who's...
Hoyle, stop. Can we not?
Okay.
I'm working, okay? Thank you. Please.
She might decide what nursing home you're in and she's going to be
right.
So
so
you need to...
So
if you need me to send you a copy, I will.
So we have 3 kids and 3 grandkids, but a lot of involvement in services through us. I know you all know this because you have conversation. There's 88 different counties, and it all looks a little different. We all are following the same rule, but obviously it's interpreted a little bit differently depending on who's reading it. I'm sure you guys noticed that with parents as well. Also, I think just the setup of counties makes it a little bit different. Some counties utilize their own supported living or FSSP money a lot more than other counties. Some counties might have other resources available that they tap into. So it's really hard sometimes to compare county to county. But if you ever do have questions, the Ohio Revised Code has, my job is listed in the Ohio Revised Code, and there's not a lot of jobs that are. So it kind of spells out what an SSA does in the code, what our role is. what assessments we're supposed to do, what's the age of someone that can have an SSA. All of that is spelled out in the rule.
Is that 5123 also?
51234-02
Yes,
is the SSA
Okay.
rule.
And all the rules pertaining to providers are in
Yeah.
that
Yep.
rule too.
So, so it might look a little bit different depending on what county you're in. I know in Portage, we have 21 waiver SSAs and we have 5 non-waiver SSAs. So there's a group of us that hold a non-waiver caseload. And that one of those is me actually. I support transition age youth. I have about 90 folks, and it is working in the with the school districts, working with the families to try to work on transition. I'm not doing service plans for 91 people. Yeah, no, we are not. So it looks different. Some counties don't, they might just do information and referral. Some counties are doing service plans for everyone. Some counties aren't. It just depends on the county, what they decide to do.
And another different thing about our county is most of the SSAs are union members.
All of the SSAs are in the union in Portage, yeah.
Most of the other counties, they are not unionized. Stark, some of
Is.
them are and some of them are not.
Some of this
I
as
am
well,
the director.
Yeah.
Same thing with Summit?
Summit, yeah, I believe so. I know they have union in Summit now. It's changed so much over the years.
I find when I'm talking to parents and all, if their county, I hate to say it, if their county SSAs are not a union employee, they tend to have a bigger rollover of employees than,
That's
like you said,
interesting.
yeah, I see that a lot.
Well, we have a lot of longevity. I mean,
Yeah,
I
our
know
county's
that,
long, yeah.
It's a hard job.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's weird. It's weirdly changed, and I really do like working with the kids. So I have it truly is, I think, a blessing. I get to work with kids at 14. We're talking transition. The transition plan at school. Remember all those conversations. So we're talking about what do I want to be when I grow up, and how am I going to get there? And I'm kind of helping navigate through that. So I'm seeing kids that had no clue that are working full-time jobs with benefits after they're done with school. Some kids maybe not so much, but everyone's different. I think the other thing to remember as parents and working with your local county boards is that, and I spoke at a guardianship panel, I think this time last year, and this was an example I used. I asked the parents, how many of your kids were on because it was all parents, or kiddos, how many of your kids have an IEP? And they raised their hand, and I said, how many of them have a toileting outcome? And they all kind of looked at me, and I'm like, okay, how many of them have this? So everyone's different. So we do need to remember that sometimes just because Jimmy is getting A, B, and C doesn't mean Joey should be getting that too. So a lot of times we see, because I do hear, well, my neighbor gets, and we don't know the situation, how they got there. Rules have changed over the years. How we do things have changed over the years. I think the new waiver waitlist assessment and how we do that, and that's changing again.
And calling a wait list assessment, a wait list. Don't you notice that I'm on that list for years and years and years? They really need to change that terminology.
And so when I'm doing that, I'm telling families, this is a needs assessment. It's really what it is. It's a needs assessment. Let's talk about, see what your needs are and see how we can address them. It may be with a waiver. It may not be. Because a lot of times families will say to me, well, I need a waiver. For what? I don't know. I was told I needed to ask for a waiver. And then you start talking and they don't need a waiver. They just need respite one night a week or some assistance with transportation to work. I mean, it really is.
They don't know what they need.
Yeah, so really to be able to have that conversation with your SSA about a true needs assessment and try really hard, because it's hard as a parent, because I'm a parent too, to not focus on the funding piece, but to focus on the needs piece. Like, what do I need? What does my child, or what do we need for my child to be successful, or for my child to be able to work, or my child to be able to be home alone, or my child to be able to take their medication independently? All of these questions that we can ask. And a lot of times, I think with the advancements of technology and things that we have today, we don't need a person like we used to. We have so many amazing things that are available that can provide that support. And I think the best thing about that is it's all the same things we all use. A lot of our technology, gone are the days of kids with autism walking around with the giant picked cards on the little ring. We don't do that anymore. They get to carry an iPad or a tablet, and guess what? Everyone has them, or we have phones, So our kids with disabilities don't look like they have a disability anymore. Like, nothing shouts disability like that ring of picked cards in the
I can tell you there's been many times I've gone into different workshop areas and I said, look at people, is that a client or is that an employee?
It's
Because you can't tell anymore.
Yeah. And, you know, we need to take all the technology and things that we have that we use for ourselves that make our lives easier and put those in place for our kids and the people we serve. So, an SSA, our role is, I had to pull up the rules, so I wanted to make sure I read it correctly. We are the primary point of coordination. So really, we're providing service coordination. And we want to try to find a way to meet someone's needs at the least cost possible. If someone wants NMT, which is non-medical transportation, and there's a vehicle available and there's a limo available, what do you think we're going to go with? We're not going to go with the limo. It's not the least cost. So, really try to identify the least cost and how we can meet their needs. And really just being a leader of that team and really including that team based on what the person wants. I would have loved to have been at that meeting today with my kid. He doesn't want me there. And it's good. That's based on his needs. So we need to really listen to, even though we are parents, and when they turn 18, this light switches and all of a sudden they're adults. And that's crazy to grasp. We need to also remember that they need to be involved and included, and that it's okay for them to make those choices, or to fire providers sometimes, because that's how we learn, right? That's how we learn. I worked so hard to get a provider in. He did not want a provider to come in his apartment. We worked so hard. She was there for a week. 2 times she went out, and he said, I don't need your services anymore, and fired her. Because he just wasn't comfortable yet. He wasn't ready yet. So we've had conversation, but we have to respect that too, and respect, we can't force it on him. They have to want that. So, having a good supportive team, and he has a great SSA that has talked to him about things. Not me. I don't talk to him about that stuff.
Well, you're not allowed to be as SSA either.
No,
So
but I don't talk to him anyways. I stay away. I ask him, hey, what'd you have for dinner? I mean, those mom stuff, we don't talk about the county board stuff. So, but anyways, Portage County waiver set up, we have those 5 or 6 non-waivers. And then we have some behavior support SSAs. Not every county is set up like that. Some counties have mixed caseloads, some don't. I know some counties have like Cuyahoga County's intake department is bigger than I think our entire agency. I mean, it's like their own tiny city. They're huge. And so we have an intake person. They have a whole intake department. Their MUI unit is ginormous. We have 3 people. So it really just depends on, so when you sit back and scale it back, that's really why all counties look a little different. The funding for Summit County is way different than the funding that's the voters for Portage. So the money that you're getting, it's gonna look different. And how they utilize that money are gonna look a little different. The ability, the school districts are examples to it. They are all different depending on where they're at in your county. So when you're dealing with all of this, it's really easy to assume that all the SSAs are operating the same, or all the MUI folks, or all the intake folks that are doing your eligibility. But we're not, because our counties are all set up really differently. Does anybody have questions?
Okay, so you said you couldn't answer non-medical transportation questions.
I am going to avoid, so any
HPC questions.
specific plan questions I will not be able to answer. However, if it's something that I can have written down and then provide back to the group, I certainly can do that. I have been out of the waiver world for a bit because I am working, my role is I work with people that aren't on waivers, and then when they go on waivers, they leave me.
Okay, can you suggest what this person does? Maybe who she goes to? Let me tell you the situation. She drives her client to Special Olympics. She has to stay there with him while he's doing Special Olympics because he needs supervision. They're telling her she cannot charge her HPC hours. She can only charge for driving him to the Special Olympics, even though she has to stay there with him the whole time.
That would have to be I would have to look that one up and get back to you. I'd have to look at the rule on that one. And again, the rule
Well, in
spelled out.
2020, they took the cost of the driver out of the equation, so we could do the HPC and the driver at the same time.
But I think it also depends on if we're billing a trip or a mile. Are they doing
This
that?
was HPC, this is miles.
HBC?
And take him into the community is what that would be, going to Special Olympics.
I will take a look at the rule and answer it and
Okay.
get it answered, but I won't be able to figure it out right now. You know, reading rule is fun.
I spend hours on that daily.
But I will certainly look into it. I think there's a lot of little things like that and trying to figure those little pieces out or
Becky, can you explain that again? Oh, I heard
Okay.
you wanted to.
She drives her client to Special Olympics, okay, for sporting events, for practice, whatever.
Okay.
And she's only being told she can only bill the miles. She can't bill for her time that she has to stay there with the client.
is this in Portage?
No,
Okay, what kind of supervision is he?
I don't know. All I know, she says he requires supervision at all times.
I'm sorry.
That he
does?
requires supervision at all times, and she is required to stay there with him until he's done, and then bring him back home.
Is there anybody else there with him?
And then
Only the coaches, which means it's
That's
not a
an
one-on-one
MT, yeah, that's
person.
an HPC.
Well, you can
Okay.
count him staying there as HPC also.
So-
We do the same thing.
So, oh, that's a good point.
And we
Special
look for it.
Special
Are you an
Olympics.
SSA?
No, I'm a provider agency.
Oh, okay.
But Special Olympics is a volunteer organization, so you're right, that would be NMT
Yeah.
to drive it, so that would be 2680 or
Or
whatever
would the
county.
provider just continue if they were using their HPC hours, they could bill their miles at the same time?
Yes.
Why
Yeah,
couldn't she do both?
her SSA's not allowing it, her county's not
I
allowing it.
mean,
It
it's
has been in the
needs to be
past that she could do
adjusted.
it, but she got a new SSA. And the SSA say, no, they said you're not allowed to do that.
I'd actually go over ahead and look up the rule.
That's what I would do.
Call compliance.
So,
Because I know the rule, if you're billing per trip in an NMT, you can, because I've looked at this one a lot.
Right.
But if you're billing per mile, you can't. So maybe it's what they're billing.
So, per
That's what I
mile.
was gonna say.
Yeah.
It all depends on
But
how they're
actually,
doing it.
yeah.
Maybe, just, it could be just a slight mistake in their pause even, so,
What do you need me for?
no.
Keep going. That's good. Yeah, yeah.
No. So it might just a slight mistake in their pause, so you would just ask the SSA to look at the pause. That provider that's providing that services has the authority to look at the pause anytime, so.
right, true.
All they have to do is look at the pause, and then they can figure out, oh, that's in the pause wrong, can we fix that? It could be just a simple error. If you look at the pause system, I've been in this field as you for 25 plus years, and yeah, I've seen pause going, well, that's way wrong, so can you fix this one, and this one? So some of that is so close, it could be a simple pinky that was misstroked, and it's an easy fix.
And depending on the county, some SSAs enter the pause themselves. Some SSAs have a group that does that.
Correct.
So it just depends on the setup of the county.
It does, yeah, whichever, I mean, I know, Wayne County, we're gonna start providing services there. They, each SSA enters their own pause, so they don't have one person. Stark, I think, has a team right now that is doing the pause stuff, so I'm not sure about Portage, because we don't provide services there yet, but,
I'll get your information before.
oh yeah, it sounds good. But it all depends on, how that's structured in the pause. I'm going through a whole training for the organization I work at now. One of the reasons why they called me and hired me was to fix a lot of the errors that they were finding with billing that they didn't know about. So now I can't fix 3 years ago, but I can go back 350 days at
Yeah.
least and get back. I mean, I'm gonna brag a minute on myself. I just got them $15,000 so of back billing. So it was just because they made a simple error that was, all I had to do was go through, oh, there's a problem right there.
There's an agency in my county that I live in that are struggling now with billing, same issue. And
It
I
costs, but they
I
can
have
call
brought
me
up,
too.
you need to bring somebody in that can help. you
Yes,
with
and
that.
we're out there, I had my own provider agency for 10 years. I had to sell it for personal reasons, but
Right.
nothing that we did bad. It was just a personal, life happened and we had to change directions. But now I'm able to pass on my knowledge, and this agency seems to be worthy. I did my background check on them and everything. I'm like, wow, I can help you out. And so I'm with them for however long they want me around. Hope like they don't fire me after I fix everything. But
Does the county here have a provider relations department?
yes, Stark.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have Stark. Yes,
Okay.
they have a provider relations department, and They're phenomenal. They actually are. I've worked with Stark for years, and we have some longevity there. We have some new also.
Sure.
Walked into the county
Always
jail,
gonna get
and
that.
I don't know everybody here, but I know at least half of you. So, but yeah, get with that SSA. I bet you, I'm not going to stake my whole paycheck on it, but a good portion of that is probably just an error in the pause, and that's easily fixed. And then that pause can then be backdated, then they can back bill up to 350 days, 350, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. What a memory. 350 days back, I mean, they might not be able to get it from years back, but at least, get something back.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Excuse me.
I just want to run the show really.
Pauses payment
Payment
authorization.
offers, I'm sorry.
So it's basically the sheet that's generated that says what all the billing is. It's kind of like the invoice
Yeah.
that says what the billing is.
Sorry,
And
I'm
and the people, yeah, no, you're fine. I'm glad. And keep in mind too, the people that are entering that, we're humans. We make mistakes. We mess up. We certainly, so sometimes typos can happen.
And they do, and it is a simple fix, it really is, and I know it's frustrating on their end because you keep billing and you keep billing and you keep saying no and you keep saying no, but eventually you'll get the yes.
So I also recommend, if your county does have a provider relations department and we do trainings on billing and stuff like that, so families, you guys can participate in that as well. I mean, certainly, if that's something you want to learn to see how that's happening, sometimes I feel like I have the advantage because I get to see what it looks like on the other side. Like, I get both sides. So I hear you guys when you're frustrated because it's not working or we don't understand things as families, but there's the stuff that we have to do on our end that you would look at and you'd be like, what? Like, how the plan turns out the way that it looks is magic, kind of, sort of. How we have to enter everything and get it in there. So, the better we can work as a team to kind of fix those things in a positive manner and being proactive about it.
And most counties do offer that, and if they don't, just stretch out to the next county. It's usually a Zoom virtual type training. And they'll go over all the pause, answer all your questions, you'll get a full contact. It doesn't necessarily have to be your county origin, that is open to family members, guardians, virtually. the public.
DODD probably has trainings
DODD
too.
has a bunch of trainings, So, reach out to those, and, I mean, they're very useful, and there's a lot of counties that are really taking care. You can get on DODD's website.
And just click
Just
training.
click training, and there's a whole list of different trainings that they offer.
Do you, I know you guys will probably remember the EV, whatever that.
I don't have to do EVVs. I've never had to do it.
Oh, it was a mess when that was rolled out. But there was a lot of trainings available on that, and
And it still doesn't work.
It still didn't work.
I know. But DODD has a lot of trainings.
Yes.
Also,
We heard, I had some friends over, I was helping her with something on the computer, and she was talking about this class she heard about. She said, do you think we can get it in our county? I said, I don't know. I called Michelle up. And I told Michelle, it's called CPI.
Crisis Prevention Institute.
Crisis Prevention. And she said, if you can get 4 providers together, we'll hold the class for you.
And
Really?
And
And
then
then
it
we
was-
talked to.
I talked to our liaison, Michelle Domowski,
Okay.
but you need to talk to whoever's in your county that's
I
there.
did that. I got invited to St. Clairsville to a trauma-informed care training with the ODD, the gentleman who does all the developmental centers. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. My county so needs that training. So I had emailed my county liaison.
Yeah, we are.
Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
so CPI is also, so for those that don't know, CPI is also COPE or PACES, if you've ever heard of those.
This is MANT,
MANTS. It is de-escalation training.
re-escalation.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
It was
great
actually
training.
hands-on training. If you grab your hair, how do you get away?
And sometimes I recommend the first half of the training to families because it's just that verbal de-escalation, how to work with folks. We might not need the second half. You might just need because again, I'm working with a lot of kids, a lot of parents. Sometimes it's our approach,
It's just the way you
the
have to
words,
take
the
care
way
of
you
the
look at it.
situation,
Yeah.
the way you act, the way you say, and you have to be empathetic. And if you don't have that in a situation, you can forget it because it's not going to work.
And you have to have a lot of patience.
Yes. When I went to St. Clairsville, I'm just gonna say it, the training was awesome, so I went to my county liaison, and I asked her if we could do that training, and I emailed her.
So we have someone through Portage, for trauma-informed care, we actually have our behavior support specialists go to training,
Yeah.
trauma-informed care, and they do our CPI training as well.
You don't have behavior support.
Desiree.
Desiree and Shane, yeah.
Shane, yeah.
If you go to some agencies though, we invite families, guardians, families that take their loved ones home on the weekends. We invite them to some of our trainings. We have Handle with Care. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's all the same, on the same
It's like
case as
on the
everybody
same
else.
level, yeah.
So we actually invite them, and we've done classes for guardians, family members,
Yes.
and some independent providers. So go to your local agencies too. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. If you're not, even if you're not getting any services, I know our agency, we're all in on everything that we do. So that's why we reach out to our to the families of our individuals so that they can give as much knowledge as we can give them.
Right.
So-
My county struggles with individuals having behaviors,
Sure.
and the staff doesn't know how to deal with them. And it's becoming an issue. And when they have behaviors, it's for a reason.
Well, it's communication.
It's communication for them because they can't communicate. And I have advocated and advocated and advocated, and I have to do it.
It's
So I don't know what to do.
It's difficult. No, you're fine. Actually, yeah, I'll give you my information too. I'll go to Coshocton too. I might as well, right? Kind of hitting all the other counties. Might as well hit Coshocton too.
You would be welcome.
We're looking at spreading our service footprint across northeast Ohio.
Who are you? I mean, what?
That sounds
Mark
fun.
Warren, just a
You have a
guy.
card?
Yeah, I do have a couple. I don't have cards printed.
Give everybody a card.
I literally just started there 3 weeks ago.
What agency do you work for?
So we're Legacy Caregivers.
Yeah.
Ever heard of them?
Yep.
I just applied, I think, at Portage, and we've taken a couple people, or they have before I came
I think you
aboard.
guys have replied to a couple of my provider searches.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, all counties do different.
We'll be applying to more. I'm having difficulties with the portal, which I'll discuss with you
Yeah.
or whatever.
What do you know about Portage County's guardianship program?
So Portage County, actually I know a lot about Portage County's guardianship.
Because I was
program.
asked to do that and I kind
So,
of blew it off. I didn't.
Portage County's guardianship program, so there's only 6 counties currently that have guardianship programs in the state. By the end of this year, there'll be 8 counties that have guardianship programs. What we're finding is that our APSEs and places like that just don't have the capacity sometimes to serve people that really have a need. So our guardianship program is serving not just people with developmental disabilities, but people in nursing homes, the Veterans Administration, all facets through our guardianship board. And what the guardianship board is supposed to be is if there's no other person available to be a guardian for someone, the guardianship board can step in and provide that service.
And it's all volunteer?
It's not all volunteer.
Thank you.
So the person, the CEO or that runs it is paid, and then the 2 case managers are paid. But there's volunteers that go out and check in and stuff like that. But we have,
I blew it off because there was no end date to it. It was like you have to do this every month forever. It looked like, and I thought, well, if there had been like
for
a,
guardianship board, I would have volunteered.
yeah, when he sent me the flyer about me doing it, I thought, well, if they gave me an end date, like do this for 4 months or 5 months, then you rotate out.
So-
I would have been more likely to say, okay, I can do that for 4 or 5 months.
The guardianship board has been great for a lot of folks that maybe mom or dad doesn't have the capacity to make decisions for them anymore, and they've been the guardian, or maybe no one's been a guardian and this person really is struggling with making decisions. They've been able to step in and kind of help out. It is a great program.
It's a once
have
every 30 days, you do a
counties.
face-to-face check-in with the paperwork good.
They do more than that, depending on, sometimes if someone needs, so they have people, so it's funny you asked me this, they just did a presentation Thursday and I was there. They might have someone on hospice that they visit multiple times a week because they're on hospice and they need someone to come check on them more often. I mean, it just varies. And most guardianship boards are funded through Mental Health and Recovery Board, some Children's Services, a little bit, and the county. I know we get some money from Direction Home, we get some money from different agencies to kind of pitch in for that. But it is meant to be kind of like how, I know you guys, you're here, so you understand the system, the payer of last resort, right? It's the guardian of last resort. They want to see if there's a guardian for that person. If someone has next of kin, this is not going to take over for someone if they have a capable guardian. But it is a great resource to have because they have over 40 people already, and it's only been a year.
So where does the counties get funding for this? Because I'm shocked.
So the funding is coming from so for us,
You get a grant?
they got funding from the County Board of DD, they got funding from Children's Services, Mental Health and Recovery Board. It's kind of been, it's been a true community collaborative. Everybody's kind of pitching in because everybody has a need for that. Yeah, and,
That's great.
it's great. I'm trying to think what county is doing it this year. There's some smaller counties that are doing it.
I talked to somebody tonight at Summit County Board. I came straight from Summit County Board to here, and a man there said this is what he does, and he'd like to come here and do a presentation sometime that they're trying to get with you guys.
Yeah, it's the guardianship piece is a great option. Also then for our youth that are possibly involved in the criminal justice system in Portage, we have a CASA program now, which is a court-appointed advocate for the child. Those are great services and things that we have. Those are things that when I started, I never thought I'd see, but it's great to have those advocates now. And I know AXI does their job, and they do a good job, but sometimes people need more than the quarterly check-ins that are required by
They're so overloaded,
Yeah.
They're so overloaded.
Yeah.
You can't blame them. I mean, they're just throwing hundreds of people their way.
Yeah, so this is someone that's more local, more familiar with
Right.
your county, more familiar with services in your county.
It's a great program.
And it is. We really have, and in fact, our board president is an attorney for the guardianship board, and then someone from DD sits on it, someone from mental health sits on it. So everyone's together and talking about those cases together and problem solving together. Yeah.
Okay, so now I have another provider that her child requires a one-on-one to go to a day program. He's being kicked out of his high school. He's not 22 yet, he's only 19, but the high school is refusing to allow him to continue because he has a one-on-one.
So
Day programs can't provide a one-on-one.
No.
Is there any way for a provider to be paid to stay with that client at a day program?
I don't believe so, but let me say something based on, you said the whole 22 school thing, right?
Right,
Okay. So
the idea that.
20 years ago, what we did was we left our kids at the school until they just got transferred over to the sheltered workshop. That's what we did. So they rode a bus to the sheltered workshop every day. They ate lunch with their friends. They made a $4.10 paycheck every 2 weeks, and they came home. That's what we did. We don't do that anymore. A lot of school districts are getting away from providing services until 22 because it's not necessary a lot of times. So are they getting academic benefit out of it? Is it just because I just want somewhere for my kid to go? Does the kid want to be there? How many times have we seen youth that are like, they're done, but their parents are making them go to school till they're 22. They're like, I don't want to be here. You can tell they don't want to be here. Even some of our folks that are nonverbal, you can tell by their behavior and their reaction at school that they don't want to be there. So we don't have to send. That option's available, and I do serve a lot of youth that stay till 22. But I also serve some that are done with everyone else. Our son decided at 20, he's like, I'm good. Thanks.
His choice.
Yeah, right. So we need to remember that although the school has the ability to provide till 22, they also have to have something to provide them. And if his needs are not being met anymore, and he's met his academic requirements, chances are they're not kicking him out. Chances are they're saying, we don't have anything left for you. But for the school stuff, I'm not an attorney. I don't work for ODE, but ODE has a great website, and ODE has a great resource to be able to look and answer those questions.
What is ODE?
Ohio Department of Education.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Well, Eric was injured after school, so
yes.
a lot of that
So
stuff I
it's
don't
all
know.
new. Yeah, for sure. But just remember that, we don't have to serve kids that are 22. We just did that in the past because we didn't have any other options. We have so many more options now for not only day programs, but for vocational opportunities, for socialization, for recreation. Whereas before, everyone got that at the sheltered workshop. I know that's what happened when I started.
Right.
I mean, you had your dance at the shelter workshop, and it was during the day, and everyone danced to Who Let the Dogs Out. I remember those. Yeah.
Was it like PI? I'm sorry.
Yeah. But also,
Yeah.
like, I remember the days of going to the dances at Youngstown Developmental Center on Friday nights, and everyone got their slice of pizza and their Coke, and it was always interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Mahoning has them once a month.
Yeah.
I take Eric up there every once in a while.
So I have a question. So if the child is disabled
Mhm.
and he decides he doesn't want to continue his education in the school system until he's 22, say 20, just like your child, he wanted to leave. If the child doesn't have a waiver by 20, and say the guardian wants to fill out an application for a waiver, what happens then?
So
Can
age doesn't matter for waiver.
Oh, right.
So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that, a waiver is going to be given based off of need. Someone would have to have a need for that. So the cookies are really important. So waiver services, although waiver services cannot be provided during the school. So if someone's enrolled in school, they cannot go to a day program and get waiver services. So you would have to wait till after school to get a waiver service. But waiver doesn't have an age. So it doesn't matter. You can get a waiver at 30. You can get a waiver at 25. You can get a waiver at 10 if you have the needs for a waiver at 10. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. What else you got, Becky?
What's this one? So this guy's due for his last ETR, and I guess she wants to waive it. He will be 21 in June, and the last day he could go to, I'm assuming this is the name of his workshop, is the day he turns 22. I don't know what the Kids Link is. I'm not sure what that
Kids
is.
Link is up.
in Twinsburg.
Yeah.
What is it?
Streets for All.
School. Streets for All.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If I waive it, it means he gets all the same services as now until he goes to a day hab, if there is one for him. Is it just determined if he is still disabled and I might need services he may not be getting?
So the
It's
purpose
kind
of
of
an
disjointed, I'm sorry.
No, so the purpose of an ETR for school, it's that evaluation team report that says this person does in fact have a qualifying disability that allows them to be on an IEP and receive these services in the school. ETR has nothing to do.
IEP, individual educational plan, right?
Yes, it's all I's, right? They're all individual something. Whether it's education, whether it's employment, whether it's service, whether it's, sometimes mental health has their own too. But so an ETR at 21, many school districts do ask, when you're waiving the ETR, you're not waiving the assessment. They're still doing a records review. They could do certain assessments if they want. But at 21, maybe your child has changed a lot. But if your child hasn't changed a lot from 18, 19, then I know we didn't do it. Just because there wasn't a lot of change. There wasn't a lot of, our kids, when they're younger, absolutely, you should be getting it every 3 years. But there's a point where our kids they slow down, right, as far as their changes and what's happening. So the school may recommend waiving it. They still do it, but it's a records review. And the other thing to consider with that is do you want to put your kid through all that testing again? So if you don't have to, so the ETR is just to determine school services. It says, yes, in fact, my child has a learning disability, or my child has autism, or my child has, and what supports the goals that they're working on at school. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay, so this mother's child can't find a workshop for one-on-one. Okay. She needs her kid to go somewhere. I said, you don't have to have your kid go anywhere. You can stay home. She says, no, you don't understand. I need him to go somewhere. So what are her options? Does Ohio Rise have a day program?
No, Ohio Rise is a service.
Right. Are they an institution too? Don't they have facilities?
Not Ohio Rise, no. So what I would remember is that when we're exploring options for day services, when we're exploring options, period. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a job. It doesn't matter if it's a provider. It doesn't matter. Environment means everything. So a lot of times it's just finding that right environment. Maybe he doesn't need a one-on-one in a certain environment. You know, in my role, I'm talking to families a lot about employment. And today I had a conversation with Mom. I don't want my kid to work. I'm afraid that he's going to get taken advantage of. I'm like, well, then let's work on the environment. Maybe he needs to work in a smaller setting where there's not customers coming through all the time. Or maybe he only works a shift where we know a supervisor is going to be there. So it's kind of working through those things. Can we pay a one-on-one during workshop? No, we can't use HPC during workshop. But I would explore different options because they're not all the same. Or day services, I say workshop because I'm old. Not all day services are the same. They all look different. So maybe someone has something that they can provide this family that's a little different. And you don't have to stay in your county for day services. If you can get them there and the provider is willing to take you, you can go out of county. We have people that go to Hartville for services. We have people that go to Summit County for services. Yeah, so remember that you don't have to stay in your county.
You don't even have to go to the same workshop every day.
Absolutely. And you don't have to go every day. Let's say you only want to go 2 days a week. Because those are the days teammates does outings and they go to the Akron Zoo.
That's the day they go to donut shop.
Right. But that's that choice piece. So I think in anything, so whether we're looking at employment, whether we're looking at a provider, whether we're looking at day services, the environment and what they have to provide is just as important as the level of supervision. Because let's be honest, if you have 3 really crummy staff and 1 really good staff over here, does it really matter? I mean, I'm not that, because I know I've been there. I've worked in the workshops. I've worked in the day programs. I've worked in group homes. And so, you know, you have staff that work really well with your kid and some that don't because we're people. So.
Now, here's another idea for her now, since we're allowed respite care. Could she not have a respite provider take him away during the day?
Respite care is a waiver service.
Right? Well, he's done a waiver. So why, if she doesn't want to take care of him while she's gone?
Oh yeah, she could have someone do HPC during the day if that's if there's room in the plan.
Yeah, kind of like what Kathy, you do that with Kelly.
Yeah.
Kelly does your
There's
respite
limits
services.
to it. It's like you get up to 52 hours a month.
Yeah, that's that. I am trying to wrap my head around all of this.
The 52 hours.
The 52 hours a month. Where did they get fined 52? Did they just like throw a dart at a board and just say?
And no more than 12 hours in one day, or 52 hours in a month.
So that respite, or it depends on what can they get HPC? Can an HPC provider take them out to do things? I mean, I have.
And that would be the one-on-one that would get him away from her and her. It's not that the parent needs relief; it's the child needs relief. We gotta remember how we. I know, but it's the way you have to word it.
We all need a break. We caretake when we have a child with a developmental disability. They don't go to college sometimes, and so we're caretaking
it's all
forever.
about the needs of the child. That's why you never say, "I need a break." No, you say, "The child needs a break from me." So
yeah, but respite is also a break for the caretaker.
it is. It actually is, but that's not how you have to word it when you're asking for something.
So we have in Portage, and I'm going to toot our horn, right? So we have a youth respite program. It's ages 6 to 17. It's free for families that just need a break. And the goal for that is to be able to keep families together and caretake for their kids longer so they can go to Buckeye and they get to go and they get to hang out like Jungle Jim brought like jungle animals to the kids. And then they had a bubble guy the day before. And they go swimming and they get to go and they feed them dinner. And the kids get to hang out, and mom gets a break.
We used to have Power something. Power
We still have. We have Unified Resources Recreation, and they get to go out and do fun things. So there are those
in our county. We get a monthly calendar with activities. The county board does hiking clubs.
We have cardio drumming.
That's fun.
Our pool is now open. We no longer have a school service in Portage, just like Summit. There are some counties left with a school. But we don't. So Happy Day School turned into Happy Day Services. We were serving less than 10 children last year at our school. It was not, to me, our public schools have done a much better job of supporting people with disabilities. We still have a lot of work to do, but our public schools are doing much better than when I worked back in the day and I picked up the kid from Ray in high school and the room was behind the boiler room in the basement. We don't do that anymore. So, again, we have things to work on, but because our schools are doing better, we are now supporting our school districts with needs. So we're going out to our schools and we have a building independence program, we have a social emotional learning program that we do. So we're going out and talking to the students and encouraging them to advocate for themselves and do all of these things. And so we're able to serve more kids, and even serve kids that aren't even eligible because they just happen to be in the classrooms.
Right.
We're able to serve more kids than we did when we operated the brick and mortar school.
Right.
So, but we have this pool is there, our life skills room is there, we have a sensory room now that's open to people to use.
On Wednesdays, is swimming lessons.
So yeah, there's swimming lessons on Wednesday, there's open family swim on Tuesday and Thursday, adaptive swim on Mondays, because a lot of folks shared concern with if I have a trach, if I have issues, I don't want to be in the pool with Colson. He splashes a lot. You know that, right? He makes me throw him really high during toddler swim. And then on Fridays, the respite program, the Buckeye program goes on Fridays. So we have swimming like 5 nights a week.
Yeah, Eric, he stays at
Yeah.
my workshop and does stuff. I don't know what he does.
So, I know Summit County, I think they just sold their buildings, but they already had a presence in the community.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
They have a nice pool over at Weaver. I used to love that pool. Because
So-
Eric did summer camp there.
And I know I've said it a million times, but again, that shows that we're all just a little different on how we decide to do things. And it does make it hard to navigate.
Do you want to talk about the DSP program that Kent has?
The DSPU?
Yeah.
So Portage County has, it's Portage, and they're
Right.
Kent's-
Other schools come into it too, yeah.
Kent, I think Ravenna's doing it next year, Biomed did it, and it is training high school kids how to be a DSP. Kent has a medical program, and they went in and did the direct support professional. Yep, thank you. I try not to talk like that.
Let me tell you how I know her. She taught my Excel class.
Oh, really?
And I stayed after and I said, this is what I need it for my personal funds rule.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn how to do Excel spreadsheets. And she said, oh, you don't need this, you need this. And then we started talking, and here I found out she has a disabled
I'm
child.
not a provider yet.
No, she hasn't supposed
It's
to.
okay.
I said, why are you not the provider?
Yeah. We tend to use lots of jargons and acronyms. So whenever I use an acronym, yell at me and I will not. Yeah, it's a caretaker. It's that caregiver. Yeah.
I'll ask my questions when I'm off the work.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yes.
What else you got?
I had one that left my mind. My mind's so short, you know.
I got one that, I mean, and you can be brutally honest.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do your profession feel about parents?
I
Like,
love
do you-
working with my parents.
I wasn't sure, like,
I
are
do.
we like, yay, or they're like, oh,
So,
like,
but
I
I think,
just wonder
I think,
how
again-
they really feel about us. Because I've had the best SSA.
yeah, I as a
Well,
parent
not
myself.
everybody does, and I hear these stories, and I'm like,
Yeah.
but I don't know when I call her if she's like, oh, here she is again. Like, so I'm just curious.
So we're all
Truthfully.
we're all human, okay? And so, there are times where sometimes it can be frustrating. However, I would rather have a parent that is advocating and asking questions and is involved in whether it's a parent, a grandparent, than have a child that I'm serving that has absolutely no unnatural supports whatsoever. I mean, someone has to do it. We can't do it all. We need to work together as a team. We need to communicate with each other. The parents are just as important to be involved. You're their parents.
But sometimes I feel like we come in with this laundry list, and I keep thinking, maybe we should back it up. What do we need?
But also keep in mind, that's what I
Thank
get.
you.
That's what I get paid to do, right?
Yeah, but you don't.
I'm not volunteering my time to sit in here and listen to your problems. We're getting paid to do that. So if you have a question or you don't understand something, I will suggest to you that if you do have a long laundry list, don't just do a phone call. Call and say, hey, I have a lot of stuff I'd like to talk to you. Can I schedule some time? Because sometimes that's where it gets tough. When we get a parent that calls and they have a bunch of questions, right? And I'm working on an emergency right now, and I have this going on and this going on. I don't want to be rude, but I need to get someone a place to live tonight. Scheduling an appointment to maybe talk. Can we schedule sit down next week? Can we schedule for some coffee? Can we schedule for a Zoom call? Just to go through some of these things and get some understanding.
I've suggested several times that providers are having difficulty with their SSAs. Have you ever thought about calling and asking her out to lunch? And they said, no. It's like, I can call Nikki and say, hey, Nikki, do you want to meet for lunch somewhere? And we go out to lunch and we sit there and we talk about the issues I'm having with Eric.
I think it's just having that, and then respecting the time too is important. So, hey, you have an hour, don't keep them on the phone for 3 hours. Because then yeah, maybe, and we do the same thing for, I would hope that the SSA would do the same thing for families.
So, how many clients do SSA have?
So it depends, right? I keep saying it depends.
Like an average.
So, in Portage County, the average, and I think a lot of counties are similar for a waiver case, so it's 30 to 35.
Mine has 32. I asked her. I wanted to know where I was in the mix.
That's 30, 35.
Right?
That's
I realized
average.
32 other people. That's one a day.
Right,
One a day.
you have a child on a waiver?
She's an adult, yes.
Okay.
So I'm just, curious.
Yeah,
And
so-
we're not allowed to, I was told I wasn't, I made this big candy tray one year.
Yeah, we're not supposed to take gifts.
Yeah.
Someone gave me a chicken
SSA
wing.
That's my
hours
heart.
and
Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
never got a response.
I don't
I've
know.
done that. I've brought stuff up and dropped
I
it
mean,
off.
it's not like I'm bribing you, but it's Christmas.
Yeah.
She did take it in and set it in for everybody, but I just feel
What's
like.
that?
She shares
It used to be
with
That was
them.
20
nice
for
of you to do
SSA, now it's like 30.
You know what?
Specifically.
It really depends. I think Portage has been close to around 30 for quite some time.
Is it technology that makes it, easier for you guys?
Technology
Working from
never
home
makes
now?
things easier. So I know Summit has been working completely remote for a while.
Yeah,
A lot of counties have.
So they're at home working?
Mhm.
Yeah, she picks up her phone from home.
So
Nikki
we-
loves
and in Portage, we're
I know
hybrid.
Nikki loves
Suffolk
it.
County.
Yeah.
Suffolk.
She has it over our
I go to the
driveway.
office every day.
Yeah, they'll come to your house, or you could meet.
I can't work from home. I won't work. I know I need to go.
Team comes to the house, behavior support, everybody comes.
Oh, I
And I'm
know.
open.
Come on over, we'll have lunch.
Well, then you gotta remember, we're providing services in the community, right? So
You're not sitting there.
you're not sitting in an
away from
office.
the phone.
So, we're going to check on, like, I'm going to work sites to check on people. I'm going to school districts. I have where am I meeting someone? The Bean and the Baker in Ravenna. I use that place a lot. The coffee shop, the cupcake shop I use sometimes. So sometimes it's nice to not sit in an office. I mean, if you need to have a private conversation, that's one thing. I reserve a room at the library, but sometimes to sit and have a cup of coffee and have a conversation just about, concerns or issues. There's no problem with that. Just remembering time, right?
Yes.
That,
Yeah, oh yeah.
although 30 some people doesn't sound like a lot, they're really looking at a lot of needs and a lot, and doing a lot for that person.
Sometimes you need a lot, and sometimes you're getting away where you don't need much. And it's
Yeah.
just, hey, hi, bye. Yeah.
Can we talk about how you figure a budget? Okay, so Eric used to be on Medicaid,
Okay.
and the lady sat down with me and she says, okay, you shower him, you do this. This service is 15 minutes. This service is this many minutes. This service is this many minutes. Is that how you figure out the needs?
The budget for need.
The
for
budget and needs, yeah.
No, it depends, but and it depends on the person. Sometimes, we'll have a lot of documentation from, let's say, for me, if it's someone coming out of school, I'm able to look at their IEP and ETR and see kind of what are some of the things that they're working on at school. Having the conversation about, I did a waiver waitlist assessment the other day. What do you need to do for him? Like, oh, we give him a shower. No. What do you need to do for him? Do you have to turn the water on? Do you have to put him in the tub? Do you have to, can he wash himself? Does he have to put the soap on himself? Like figuring that out. It's
Okay.
kind of how, so if you say, oh no, he can get in the shower on his own, I just need to do the water temperature. So that kind of helps us to figure it out.
That's rather interesting
So it's
because I've
breaking
never
it down.
thought about those steps. Because can Eric, and I'm always, well, his home was all verbal except for his hair and his
Yeah.
It's not, because I have to put the soap on his wash rack, and I do have to turn on the water, and I do have to make sure.
Usually your SSA is asking you those
Yeah,
very
Yes.
I never asked.
questions.
I never
Yeah.
thought about getting that specific just for the shower
So
or just
I do,
for this.
when you do the level of care for the waiver, I do ask those questions.
Okay.
Because, sometimes a parent can say, oh no, Joey can't shower. Then I find out, but you can take a bath. So, asking those questions sometimes find out information, and sometimes we learn that people are more independent than we think, or sometimes we learn that people have more needs than we think. Because parents do a lot for their kids.
And if you're not there and another provider's coming in, they need to be able to see what they can do.
Yep.
They're not going to throw them in the water and assume everything's fine. So you go through.
I
all
try to
that.
tell people when you're doing this, number one, worst day.
Yeah.
Number two, a stranger coming in, and go through your day like you have a video camera in your home. What are you saying? What are you on? I can still remember the time we're over at PI, you and I, and you're talking to
I don't
Eric.
even remember this stuff.
Because it's stuck in my head, and somebody gave Eric a piece of candy, and he handed it to you, and you're opening it. I said, Chrissy, what are you doing? You were just talking to me, and you were just automatically opening the piece of candy to get back to him. And he said, oh, yeah, here, Eric, open it. I still remember that day.
Yeah, because we do that.
We do that automatically.
Uh-huh.
It's like Eric handed me something the other day, I stuck in my pocket, and I thought, oh, this was, I said, do you know how many times I have shoplift because you guys handed me something and I was,
Not
all
paying
the
attention.
words, not paying attention, just stuck in my pocket. I come home with a spool thread in my pocket, and I'm like, where'd this come from?
So to come back and answer your question about the whole SSA parent thing, I think as long as we're all respectful of each other's times and respectful of time and respectful of each other, and also respectful that we're all human beings, then it works. It should work. And I've been fired because families might not get along with how I do things. That's okay. Sometimes personalities don't mesh. Because we are human beings. We are not, I'm not building teddy bears for a living. I'm working with people. And people have different needs, and how they communicate is different. And what they think life should look like is different. So we need to remember all of that as we're working through it.
I wrote this question on my hand, so I wouldn't forget it again.
Go ahead. What's the question?
You're probably not going to be able to answer this. It's probably going to be a Jesse Wyatt question, which, by the way, Jesse Wyatt is my speaker next month, and he is Medicaid. He is the Chief Deputy of Medicaid Long-Term Care. So, if you know anything about Medicaid for the state, you got Maureen Corcoran. She's at the top. Jesse is right underneath them. They both operate at the pleasure of the governor. So the governor can step in and say, you're not working no more, you're fired. So that's my speaker next month. Being paid for the kid in the hospital. Do you know anything about that new rule?
I don't.
Okay, so if
I know there's a rule.
Okay, well, it went into effect actually in 2020. Okay, with the CARES Act. If our child is hospitalized, we as providers, if we're needed to be in the hospital with them, we could get paid.
If it's not hospital related, then
If
they're not.
it's not care that the
Correct.
hospital
But I don't know
performing.
the details of the rule.
Okay.
So I would
well,
ask, that drill guy from Medicaid.
Yeah, because
sure.
the
Nobody's
limit
asking
is
that.
30 days in a year.
Yes,
we have
it's very
kids.
limited.
Yeah, we have kids that go in the hospital. Eric goes to the hospital every 2 to 3 months because of his hernia, his colostomy, and all that stuff. So we could easily use up 30 days a year.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
just,
know that
I
one.
didn't know why. I was asked to ask you if you had any idea. I mean, what if it managed they have to be there for 45 days?
Why is respite 52 hours a month? That's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes.
Because they have to cap it somewhere.
Yeah, they have to
Budget,
cap it
or
somewhere,
You'll take it,
but
or
where they
you'll
got the
take
number.
advantage of
I
it.
do want to share
And are there
something before I finish
Okay.
with you guys. If you're not, have you ever seen the website DB101? Okay. So Disability Benefits 101 is probably my most shared website. And you go on it the first time, click on Ohio, and it is, maybe, it might work. And it is the basics. It's beautiful. It's acronym free. How to understand Social Security, Medicaid, SSDI. They have workload calculators in here. It tells you what's a resource and what's an asset. There's a glossary of terms, and it actually makes sense. This is probably my most shared. Like, a lot of times people don't understand that SSI is different than SSDI. It breaks it down, and it also tells you how to apply, what documents you need when you apply, what does the process look like when you apply, basic information. And it is an absolute great tool for when you just have Medicaid, Social Security questions to go look at first. For Portage County folks, I say it's written at a record courier level, and I think the paper's written at like a 3rd grade level. So it's not jargony. which is fantastic because you get letters from Social Security and you stare at it for 5 minutes to try to figure out what the heck it says.
We get letters every month,
Yeah.
and it's like, is this
Yep.
a provider? Is this an agency letter? We don't know.
So this is probably one of my most shared websites, and it's across the state. So
I have a question about
Yes.
extra help. Maybe this is not good.